Hi! I was recently invited to speak at a conference and thought, why not share my presentation with you in this video? The title of my presentation was How to Better Serve Your Students, where I provided recommendations to tennis teaching professionals on tennis gear, ranging from beginning to advanced players, from juniors to seniors. All right, so whether you're a coach working with students or you're a student of the game, here are 4 key points that'll help enhance your tennis playing experience. First, you'll need to get the right racket based on your physical development and skill set. For example, a racket that is right for a high performance teenager or a racket that is right for a recreational senior player is not going to be the right fit for a preteen yellow ball player. With hundreds of rackets to choose from, I'll simplify this process with my right racket guidelines, first based on the player type, then on the head size, static weight, and swing weight. Here I have my racket guidelines and progression, and I'll have 6 player types, and that'll determine the head size. The static weight that I list on my specs are unstrung, so if you go to Tennis Warehouse, you'll notice that the specs that I'm giving you will be 15 grams lower, or about a half an ounce. And for the same reason that the unstrung specs will also reflect a lower swing weight for the numbers that I'm giving. Our first player type are junior players that are either playing with a green ball or transitioning into a yellow ball. And these are players that are using a 26-inch racket, but specifically a graphite or a composite racket. And the head size is 100. There's not many choices out there in terms of head size. The weight is between 8 to 9 ounces. I have the grams here converted. And the swing weight is very, very low. It's between 230 to 250. Our second category are 3 different player types here. This first one is when a junior is making a transition from a 26 to a 27. So it's their first 27-inch racket. And I have 100 square inches here, and that's what I would recommend for the fact that you don't want a junior player playing with an oversized racket, because I feel at that stage of their development, you want them to hit more precisely and not have easy power or easy shots that they can get away with not hitting the sweet spot. So anyway, that's the head size there. The second player type is a petite adult. So this is where you can go a little bit larger in the head size, especially if it's a petite adult where they don't have much power or strength to hit with power. And the third player type is a senior player. I just put 60 and over as a general guide, but this is where you can go to a larger head size, because at that point, especially if they're a beginner senior player, it will make the game a little bit easier for them to play and give a little bit more free power. Now, if we take a look at the static weight, these rackets will typically fall in this category from 9 to 9.7 ounces. Again, we have the grams here converted. Now, this is where the swing weight will vary a little bit. So typically on a 100 square inch or a 100 or to a 110, you're going to get a swing weight that's between these numbers here. But when you get into these type of rackets that are made for not made for a senior player, but it's this large head size that could be for a senior player, you're going to find that the swing weight is a little bit higher because of the fact that the rackets are so light, that there's a little bit more swing weight that's added to the racket to allow for a little bit more stability. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that that was noted there. For our third player type, I have 3 types of players here listed. And this would be for that teenage junior player that was playing with this racket here, but now is ready because they're older, stronger, and their skill set is more advanced, so they can go to a heavier frame. The second player is the type of adult that's just starting up, and you can go with a racket that's around this range here, or about a 3.0 or below player. And again, the head size can be a little bit larger when you're looking at a player that's at a slightly lower level in terms of skill level. So I have the static weight here, which will fall in this category of 9.7 to 10.7 ounces. And the swing weight is now going to start to increase because as you get more advanced, the swing weight, uh, it's going to be a little bit higher. It's going to be a little less maneuverable, but in a good way because it'll add stability and more power and depth to your shots. Like the previous category, now we're going to take a look at 3 different players in this next player type. Now we have the competitive junior. So this is the type of player that's in high school that's now really taking tennis seriously. So this is where you can go to a slightly smaller head size, like a 98 to 100. Or it could be an adult that's just starting tennis, but it's, physically stronger adult. So typically you want to go with a heavier racket. Generally speaking, you should always play with the heaviest racket that your arm can swing comfortably and not get tired after playing for a couple of hours. So it would make sense for that kind of a adult player that's starting off. And as the skill set improves, I have a 3.5 player and above. Again, there's some that still want to play with a larger head, so that's all right. So I have a 98 to a 110 range here. This is the typical weight based on these rackets. And you'll notice that the swing weight is a little bit higher now. So this one was 270 to 285. And now we have an increase of swing weight here. And again, the increase of swing weight will give you more stability. And I always describe it as you don't want your racket to be pushed around. As you get better, you're going to be receiving balls that are coming at you faster. So you want a racket that's going to be stable. Our 5th category is when the junior player is now at a collegiate level. So I have the same head size. There's nothing wrong with staying with the same racket that you used in high school. Sometimes you might want to go to a heavier version though. So I have a larger or a higher static weight range here. Again, if it's a adult player just starting off, you might want to have them just start off with a heavy racket, especially if they were a former athlete, maybe in another sport that is just really physically stronger. Or if you're a player that now advanced to a 4.0 from a 3.5, this is where you can go to a slightly smaller head size. But again, this is just a general guide, but that would make sense here. So again, we have the increase of weight here, and the swing weight is going to go a little bit higher again. And for the fact that I mentioned earlier about receiving balls that are coming faster. Finally, we have the 6th category, and this is, again, if it's a very strong, physically very strong adult, there's nothing wrong with just starting off with a heavy racket to begin with. And for the 2nd player, you're going to typically see a 4.5 and above, or maybe an old school player playing with something that's a little bit smaller in head size. It could be a 95, it could range into 100. Now, in case you're wondering, what is old school? Well, those are players that played back in the 70s and 80s that just grew up playing with heavy rackets. So I would consider myself old school. So here's the racket. Here's a static weight coming in at 11.5 and even heavier. And the swing weight is even higher here. So now that I've narrowed down your selection, it's time to demo some rackets. And if you want to learn more about how to select and demo a racket, I have a video link down below. Now that I've steered you in the right racket path, you'll need to get a grip size that fits you. Getting a grip in the wrong size can hinder your performance and in some cases cause injury. Do you know how to determine your proper grip size? And I'm not talking about the finger method when measuring, but by using a ruler and accurately measuring your grip size. The way you're going to measure a person's hand size is by finding the center of their palm. So if you take a look at my hand, the way you're going to find the center is by looking at the horizontal lines. And you're going to take the bottom one, so it's this one here, and measure to the top of the ring finger. So if I place the ruler there and look at the top there, you can see it coming in right at 4.5. Now I'll go ahead and show you my left hand, because in some cases, if I can't read their dominant hand, I'll take their non-dominant hand. And you can see I do have different lines there, but this is the bottom horizontal line here. And I'll go ahead and place it on that line. And you can see that top of my ring finger right there at 4.5. Now there are some players that have lines that I can't read. It might be a horizontal line and I can't see anything below that. If that's the case, what I'll do is, and if I'm there, I'll use my hand as a measuring tool and I'll give them a high five. And basically what I'll do is I'll go ahead and see what the difference is between my finger's tip and theirs and assess their hand size that way. Now that you know your measured hand size, consider getting a grip size that's slightly smaller. The advantage of using a smaller grip is to help your hand and wrists facilitate with increased racket head speed, especially on your forehands and your serves. So consider getting a grip 1 or 2 sizes smaller to allow for the overgrip to be wrapped, because that increases the grip size by 1. Speaking about getting a grip, watch this video that discusses the advantages and different types of overgrips. Also, if you plan to install your own overgrip or replace your base grip, learn the 12 ways not to wrap your grip in this video. Or you can have your certified racket technician do it for you. Have you heard the saying, the strings are the engine that drives the racket? I've designed a comprehensive guide that will help you select the proper strings and progressions to ensure you have the ideal engine to drive your racket, ultimately complementing your game. If you watch my 2024 video, Stringing Guidelines, Progression, and Frequency, this chart may look familiar. However, I've updated it, and if you'd like a copy, email me at amstringing@gmail.com. In that video, I'll recommend 4 string setups, starting with the most basic level strings and progressing to the advanced level strings. To progress to each level, the player must improve and prove themselves in the process. Make sure to check out that video. Okay, you just purchased the right racket, you got a grip that fits, you installed the proper strings, now you're ready to play your best tennis. If you're a high-level competitive player who's hard on strings, you're either breaking or replacing them frequently, so this next point does not apply to you. However, if you're the type of player who waits until their strings break before restringing, this next point is for you. And although this may be saving you some money, this won't help you play your best tennis and can sometimes lead to arm and shoulder injuries. All strings lose tension as soon as it comes off of the stringing machine. The key point here is knowing your ideal restringing frequency. You may have heard of the recommended guide for restringing your racket as restring as often in a year based on how often you play during the week. Generally speaking, that's good in a sense that it makes you aware of the fact that you shouldn't wait until your strings break. Here's a chart where I'll share my recommendations regarding restringing frequency based on the player type and string type. If you did watch my 2024 video, Stringing Guidelines, Progression, and Frequency, you already learned about this key point. If you haven't watched it, make sure to watch that video. In this presentation, I shared with you the importance of playing with the right racket, getting a grip, stringing with the proper strings, and knowing your restringing frequency. By following the points I presented, you'll make your experience on the court more enjoyable and fun while playing your best tennis. Thanks for watching, play with aloha, and let your strings play.